Hey, how are you doing, everybody? This is Lee. I have a record review for you. An old bandmate of mine, Pascal Garneau, has a group called Brightsilver. And I remember I used to write songs with him, and his songwriting was really good. And so I'm glad that now he has a group where he has written all of the songs, and there's one cover tune, but otherwise he's writing all of the songs. And so I was really interested and looking forward to hearing this whole album. So the album is by Brightsilver, and the album is called Strikes It Rich. So I give a salute and a thumbs up, buddy, to Pascal for reviewing this album. And anyway, the first song is called Drifting. This sounds extremely like New Riders of the Purple Sage. If you know their first album, their first song is I Don't Know You, one of the best country songs I've heard. This has a bit of roots rock in it, so it's not only country, but it still has that definite New Riders of the Purple Sage and Birds element to it. The guitar work is really cool, and the duo guitar solos sound like something from Jefferson Airplane. I'm glad they finally came out with a whole album, because this was the only song I heard by them for some time. Will the rest of the album be as good? I'll find out. The next song is called I Still Feel the Same. This is, in my opinion, influenced by the Byrds' I'll Feel a Whole Lot Better, but it isn't an imitation. There's an originality to it. It also sounds a little bit like the country elements in Moby Grape. It's the kind of song I'd like to hear if I were holding hands with my girlfriend and we were walking through the park. Of course, she might want to hear Puddle of Mud, and then we'd have a problem, but joking aside, it's a cool tune. Maybe I sense it was a last-minute thing that they added to fill up space and decided to put it as the second song on the album to give it more purpose. I've done stuff like that, but even if that were so, I like it. The next song is Fields and Waves. This is kind of like Jimmy Buffett, Rupert Holmes, and John Ferre's group Zero. I can see how they'd add a jazz element to it, and it works, but this would be more of a grower for me, and it would have to grow kind of a while. I like the instrumentation a lot, but this song seems filler. I hope the album gets back on track. It isn't fair to pick an old man like to pick on an old man like me. Ha 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 ha. Just kidding. The middle part with the solo and jam is actually pretty cool, like the fusion group Gamelan. So that saves this song. So I like parts of it a lot, and other parts I think are filler. The next song is called Another Soul. Okay, this reminds me of solo Gene Clark, and it's pretty cool. The writing style of the song kind of makes me think of what Skip Batton did in The Byrds, and the New Riders reference can't be denied. I have to say this outright. There's some songs on Powerglide I could do without. A lot of friends whose opinions I respect think that it's a great album. I could take the last three concluding songs from side one off and put this in its place, and the album would be improved. The guitar part is awesome. It reminds me of the Powerglide album as far as what should have been on it. It's like Jerry Garcia's playing, but with maybe a little more formula to it, but I mean that complimentary. As this song progresses, it's making me think of a cool jam band called Tea Leaf Green. I'd have to say this is the signature song on here. It's simply fantastic. The next song is called Days Like These. And as far as I'm concerned, okay. This is quite interesting. It makes me think, what if the new Riders of the Purple Sage did an album with Gene Clark co-writing? And it has a bit of the Outlaws, High Tide and Green Grass melodic strain to it, but very faint. Maybe just a tiny hint of Judas Priest in the soloing, but only just a hint. Still, this reminds me of southern rock bands more than any song on here. The group Hartsfield comes to mind, but the groove is good, and I really dig the guitar work a lot. A little bit of it reminds me of Tangerine Dream, but in a much less computer-generated context. I'd say this is one of my favorite songs on here. The electric guitar solo part sounds like Jorma Kaukonen in Jefferson Airplane, but on a non-existent Jefferson Airplane album. It's probably my favorite song on here. It's my groove. And then the last song, Genius of Love. Now, who else would be out there enough to do a country version of a Tom Tom Club song? I don't think anyone else would believe it were possible. But I have to say outright, I like it a lot more than the original. I do recognize the song. Hell, I really dig it. Should Brightsilver do a whole album of Tom Tom Club covers? I won't go that far, but I sincerely like what they did to this song. This is fantastic. They actually make me like something by the Tom Tom Club, which I usually wouldn't say otherwise. It's really, really cool. I will say maybe a couple of minutes could be snipped off, but otherwise, it's all good. Anyway, thank you, Pascal, and thank you for your group, Brightsilver, and your album, Strikes It Rich. This definitely reminded me of a lot of stuff that I grew up listening to, and kudos to you for writing stuff that sounds every bit as good in most ways. Maybe not in every single way, but in most ways, like the stuff that I grew up with. Hey man, it's all good. It's a good album. I will put the link to the group's album in the description. Please buy it if you can. It's really cool. Okay, everybody, take care. Cheers.